or you be the best at one. Like I really focused on opening the stores and making them amazing, right? And the rest kind of came. But I feel like sometimes too, if you focus on too many things and you're like, you're trickling everywhere, it's like you lose focus and you can't be the best at all things. You got to be the best at one and actually be amazing at it.
Welcome to She's Interesting, a podcast about business, money, and well-being. I'm your host, Rashel Hariri. I'm a marketing consultant, startup advisor, and I'm here today with a very special guest, Haley Bogaert. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited to have Haley on the show today because I have actually been to your brow bar. I have been following your journey over the last 5-6 years. I've been following you guys on Instagram. And I think everyone is going to learn so much from you. Haley is such a badass. I'm going to walk you guys through a little bit of her background just so you get a feel of what she's all about. So Haley is a visionary founder of HBFace. And at the age of 22, she embarked on her entrepreneurial journey, only to face unimaginable challenges in her early 20s. The heartbreaking loss of her mother and her brother to mental health and addiction within a span of 6 months. Haley transformed the pain of her personal tragedy into a powerful source of determination. Starting as a solo venture in her apartment, HBFace now has blossomed into 2 thriving locations, one in Toronto, one in Oakville, earning recognition in publications such as Forbes, Globe and Mail, and Chatelaine. With a growing 20,000 client roster, holy shit, Haley's success is undeniable, and she's planning to expand her business into 3 additional locations this year. She is hiring, you guys. HBFace is opening across Canada, and it's safe to say that this is just the beginning for Haley. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Honestly, I was so excited for this. So
let's do it. Let's get straight into it. So I like to start the podcast to give people a background on who you are. So let's talk about your founder journey. I know you grew up in a small town in Ontario. You made your way to the big city. Tell us a bit about young Haley. Were you always interested in entrepreneurship? Were you always this tenacious and this little badass that wanted to get stuff done? How did you get to where you are today?
I mean, I always knew at a young age that I knew what I wanted to do. So I moved out at the age of 15.
Damn.
And really young. I was in high school. And then once I hit 17, 18, moved to the big city with $300 in my pocket. I always have to stress that because I literally had nothing. Worked for some of the best studios and really gained a really great following. And then obviously had tragedy happen to me. And that was really a big turning point for me to, go and do my own thing. So I really had nothing to lose at that point. And yes, I was that ambitious when I was younger. I was the same. So in fact, I feel like I'm more ambitious now. So yeah.
That's amazing. And you mentioned the loss and of your family members. It's something that's so difficult to go through. And I'm sure it undoubtedly had a profound impact on your life, the way that you view your work, your relationships, just the way that you live your life on a day-to-day basis. How has that really impacted you? Do you have a new lease on life and a new approach?
Yeah, I think again, I had nothing to lose. And I cherish my relationships more, my work more, really every day. It really changed my perspective. It was very hard for me and still is really hard. It's been 10 years this year. And I think, marking a decade really kind of hit me in a different way. But there's also this side of me that's grown a tremendous amount, which makes me so happy. It pushes you to be the best you can be because you never know how long you have here. I know
Absolutely.
That sounds so morbid, but it's so true. So, yeah.
Yeah, I personally, honestly, I don't think it's morbid. I think it's important to put things into perspective, what life is all about. And your time here is limited. And anyone who thinks that they have forever to accomplish all of the things that they want and to be the perfect person they want to be, it's a waste of your breath and your time right now. And I think it's such a good way to remember what's important in life. Yes, you're ambitious and you're building your business and you're doing all of these things. But at the end of the day, you're a human being having an experience and you're living and learning every day. And I think that's the most important takeaway.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Your branding is amazing. You were basically,
Thank
as a
you.
marketer, I look at your branding and I love it. It's so good. From the minute you launched the photo shoot, the way you launched your studio, the PR that you've amassed and the teams that you're working with.
Yeah.
You've been killing it on all the fronts when it comes to the marketing and the branding.
Thank you.
What for you has been the strongest driver to bring in sales for your business? Has it been the marketing? Has it been just because people knew you from before and it's word of mouth? What's working for you?
So how it really started was obviously word of mouth, and opening the store was like the biggest, sales driver. And it kind of really fed off the store. And then me showing face every day online and teaching everybody how to do their skincare and makeup. The one-on-one connections are the best, obviously. And I really want people to experience that because I love making people feel good. And I think it's so important with our business, right? To have that one-on-one connection. And I'm really working on doing that online and making that bigger. But they're both very even, and online is growing every day, which I'm very fortunate. It is a bit of an obstacle because I don't know that world, and I'm getting the right people involved that do know that world.
Yeah.
Because you can't do everything.
For sure.
You'd love to do everything, but you can't. So,
Yeah.
I really like to also stick to what I know, which is, selling and being the influencer of my brand and making amazing product and making people feel good.
What made you decide to call it Haley Bogaert or HBFace? Like, why? And I always ask founders these questions because I'm curious, why HB and not something else?
I guess because my name was already so established at that point. And our old logo is actually quite funny. I look back and I'm like, oof. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was my full name. It was like Haley Bogaert Face. And then we obviously made it shorter to HBFace.
Yeah.
And I think because I'm really everything to do with the face, and it starts with the brows. So, and we stick to everything to do with the face. So that's where the name came from. And I obviously based it off my name, but short formed it.
And it works. And I like it. And you guys have an amazing product line. And that's another reason why I wanted to bring you on the show, is because a lot of entrepreneurs, when they're first starting, these are questions that they have. Like, how do I get it off the ground?
Yeah.
Do I do retail? What's the best way to start? And especially in this economy today, times are tough. People have less, spending money to do all of these sorts of things and go to salons. What advice would you give to someone who's, let's say, just starting their journey today? Because it's different from 5 years ago. It's different from 2 years ago.
And it's going to always be changing.
Yeah.
So, and you have to adapt and be able to create new ways to succeed. So for us, again, it goes back to the customer experience. And for someone that is, opening a brick and mortar and only selling product, I don't know how they would navigate it. Because the clients come in for the services and then they purchase the product, and it really goes hand in hand. So, either that or you really market it online and you have great marketing dollars and someone that can really boost it online.
Yeah, I think it's you at this point, from what I'm seeing, is as a business owner, you kind of just have to fire all cylinders and be I'm doing all of the things because
and be the
you
best,
have to.
Or you be the best at one. I really focused on opening the stores and making them amazing, right? Yeah. And the rest kind of came. But I feel like sometimes too, if you focus on too many things and you're you're trickling everywhere, it's you lose focus and you can't be the best at all things. You got to be the best at one and actually be amazing at it, right?
That is really great advice, because I'm just thinking now with some of the salons and places that I've seen around Toronto who haven't been able to have the longevity.
Yeah.
It's because they were doing nails and hair and makeup and brows and laser, and literally it was like a Walmart, a one-stop shop for everything.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, you start to realize last time I went there, my brows were good. This time I went, they weren't as good.
You want to, exactly. It's funny you say that, because we expanded to facials this year, and obviously I'm dealing with investors, potentially working with investors, and they're eye on the prize, and you got to stick to the one vision. Yeah. You got to keep it real narrow and be the best at it. And I did the facials because clients, wanted them, and I actually got great advice by Allie Webb, and she was like, "No, cut the facials."
Oh.
Because if you're just mediocre at facials, even though the facials were amazing, you're going to lose track, and that's not scalable. And I really want to scale 20, 30, 40, 50 stores, right? So
exciting.
It can be a bit of a pain when it comes to adding things on and not being the best at them and depending on other people to make it happen.
So speaking of Allie Webb, this is one of my questions for you.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Allie Webb is the founder of Drybar. And I'm so curious, how did you find her? I know in a previous interview you said networking is so important. Your network is your net worth. How did you find her? How did you guys connect? Was it like at a beauty conference or a connection?
Yeah, so I can't remember this app that you can apply to speak to her and pay to speak to her. And, we gained a great relationship. We spoke a few times. I went to her mastermind, which was great. And we've kept touch. And, we have the same business. Hers was, blow dries, mine is brows. And I feel like they really align. And she's been like a great mentor. And I also have so many great mentors. Like I have so many great ones. And they've all been such a great help.
When you are looking for a mentor, what is the criteria? Because there's a lot of, and I've had a network of mentors throughout my life. Some have been really helpful and some have been just like, a friend that I would end up talking to.
Right.
And I'm like,
no, for sure.
Like exchanging info here. But so for anyone who's listening to this podcast and is starting their business and they're looking for a mentor, like what should they be looking for to make sure that they're going to get the best out of this relationship?
I guess the values got to align, right? And it depends if you have a budget and like you can hire a mentor or if you're like people are genuinely want to help. I feel like when you have a great business, people really want to help. So like mine have kind of just sat in my chair throughout the year, and and then I've grown like amazing relationships with them and they really boost me up. So it depends.
And do you have like a budget for yourself for self-development? Because you mentioned the master class, you mentioned potentially like
not really.
Because
Not really.
I like in a way I love that. And then I want to know more because I'm seeing a lot more master classes and things pop up. I'm seeing a lot of women that are more interested in like developing their business skills and doing all of these things, which I think is fantastic because like if you don't know something, either pay someone who knows how to do it for you or pay to learn how to do it. And so I feel like with you're the type of person that is constantly growing and learning and challenging yourself. So what do you recommend? Like,
I think they're great.
Yeah.
Like for sure. I met a lot of great people at the mastermind. For me, because I'm so laser focused right now, I feel like by going on a trip or doing this, like it's like it veers me off a bit. So I love to read and listen to podcasts and do my research.
She's interesting podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And like really like self-teach myself. And right now, because we are raising venture, I am learning, like I have learned so much this year. Like I feel like a brand new person and I just would have never thought I'd be put in this position. And, it feels really good to know that I have a great business, even though I tell myself that and I know that, but it's great to hear it from other people, right?
Yeah.
You get a little imposter syndrome sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
Or like every day.
Well, even when you're like going in the room with these investors who like have no idea what your business is and what you're doing, and they're just like making
Especially a woman's business.
A woman's business.
They're like, what? Eyebrows? I'm sorry, what?
So,
and then you're like,
let's dig into this. Things are heating up, guys. Okay, so investors that you're talking to, like what percentage would you say are women versus men?
I'd say like 80%, 85% are men.
Yeah,
but
standard.
Like I'm all for men and women. I feel like you can learn things from men
everyone.
And, and women as well. Like I'm very much, I have all women work for me. I'm very like female empowerment, 1000%. But I think when growing a team, back end as well, like it's good to have a bit of both perspectives, right?
Yeah.
Because we all have different perspectives and like we all know things that some of us don't. So it's great to,
Yeah, I agree.
I like to empower everybody.
For sure.
Yeah.
And if you're working with someone who's been able to scale a brick and mortar business like yours, it doesn't matter if it's a male or woman. You're just like, I need someone who can help me do it.
Help me and knows what the fuck they're talking about. Right. It's true though. Yeah.
So when you're walking into these investor meetings, how are you preparing for it?
Well, the first couple times I was so nervous.
Okay.
And like I didn't know what a deck was. Like,
did you go without a deck?
No, I went with a deck.
Okay.
But it was like 47 pages long. And they're like, what the heck's this? No. But like, I didn't know what a deck was a year ago.
Yeah.
I didn't. Like, I didn't go to business school. Like, I have been literally self-taught. But again, I've learned so much this year. And I feel, the first couple times are nerve-wracking, but then you get the hang of it. And then you get to know like the key values of your business. And then you can really speak to it. And like you like we've redone that deck like 47 times.
There you go.
Because it changes. And like, you're like, oh, wait, we need this. This is also our mission. Like, it's just, it's always evolving.
Yeah.
And like, end of the year just happened too. Okay. And now we have like, I really wanted to expand to the US, but, changed my vision and been like, and I was like, okay, I'm going to open more in Canada. Because like there's money to be made here. And two, like that's a big jump. Yeah. And I want to fail. So slow and steady wins the race. I always say that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that approach because we've been seeing it this past year. Actually, in the last 2 years, a lot of brands that have scaled too fast. They've tried to grow too fast. They've taken out too much investor funding. And then they can't.
I've never taken out investor money.
How did you get started?
I like saved all of my money that I threaded a lot of upper lips. Let's just put it that way. A lot of chins. No, but yeah. So like I saved all my money. It was brutal. And as things grew, like year by year, I was like, okay, I can put money towards this now, and I can put money towards this, and I kind of just fly off the seat of my pants and fly in, like with intuition of what's going to work and what's not going to work. Now, as things are getting a little bit more serious, I can lead with intuition, but like there's got to be a plan, right, and a roadmap of like where we are and where we need to go. But I bootstrapped the business essentially. Like I was like a couple of my friends, like 70 grand. Okay, another 70 grand. Paid it back all in the first year.
Amazing.
And then I was like, okay, now I'm making money. What's the first collection? We were using white label before. Now we're not using white label. And I've had to buy like thousands and thousands of units. But like I have the stores to disperse them and online. So you just got to take the risk. You don't know until you take the risk. And it's scary. But like, again, I have nothing to lose.
And now you have a multi-million-dollar business. So you literally went from building it from your apartment, like you said, threading all those chins and upper lips
oh God, it's so
multi-millions of dollars. That is so impressive. And I hope
Thank you.
A lot of the entrepreneurs and investors that come on my show, they don't have a moment to like sit there and absorb it. And sometimes when I reflect it back to them, they're like, what the heck? Like this, it's almost like a
aha moment.
Yeah. And I hope that you can like let that marinate and be like, yeah, I am that bitch. I did it. And I feel running this business.
It's funny because like when I speak to investors, they're like you're the 3% out of like, like you've really done such a great job. You've done all of this on your own. And I'm like, yeah, but like, it's like, I feel like it's nothing. I think because the entrepreneur in me is like always going to want more. Yeah. And I feel like I haven't even like dipped my toe in, So I just have and I also think, when I was 22, like it really, and all that happened, it really held me back, right? I had a mission then. And it just kind of like detoured me a little bit because it was like really hard for me to deal with.
For sure.
Right? So it was like a bit of an emotional roller coaster for a bit. But somehow got here.
when like I'm jumping around a little bit, but now that you mentioned that, when you were going through that period of difficulty, did you go to therapy? What helped you get through it?
See, I probably started going to therapy 5 years ago. And like didn't have like the best support system. Like I did, but like my mom, I was very close with, and I'm very close to my dad now, and he's such a great support system. And as I've gotten older, it's just time has healed a bit more, right? And I really threw myself into work, not saying that that's healthy, but for me, it was probably the best thing that could have happened to me because like it was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot for me. Yeah, not to lay it on thick, but it really was, still is hard.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think your story is like, you're just so resilient. You've been through a lot. You've shown the world what you can do. And I think that there's women that are listening to this podcast right now, and men as well. 20% of you are listening right now. And they're like, yeah, I can relate to that. I've been through stuff too. And it's like, life throws you curveballs.
It does. And it always will. And you just got to be ready for them.
Yeah. So what's next for you? You're opening 3 stores. Where are these locations?
So I'm opening them in smaller cities. We're going to do Sarnia, my hometown.
Woo!
Where I grew up.
Shout out to Sarnia.
Shout out to Sarnia. London and Windsor. Okay. And then we'll see what happens after.
Yeah. At what point do you decide we're now, like we've run the operations for two locations. Yeah. We're now ready to add more. Like what's the checklist for that where you're like, okay, we've done all these things. We get it now. I can do it again.
Once you've done it, you can just repeat it. once there's a foundation and the protocols in place, and like those will always change too, right? Like when you're growing and perfecting, and I'm actually really excited to do these next 3 stores. 1, because they're close, and 2, because I can keep perfecting the foundation. And then like the next step will be really big, right? Because it'll be moving a lot quicker. But you know, how I determine it is our online sales, my DMs, people messaging me, like you start to see where the locations are. And I feel like from when I grew up and started, like there wasn't much there. Right. And I want to like give that like city vibe to like that area. But like, you know, a luxury experience at like a medium price point.
When you are doing all of these things, you are managing the stores, you have all, like you're working on your pitch deck, you're meeting with investors, you have all the staff across the different stores. How are you managing your day? Like, how do you prioritize? Because that's a big deal. It's like learning to prioritize what comes first. How do you decide what happens in your day? This is like 4 questions in one.
No, it's okay. No,
What do you
you're all
think?
good. So yeah, to organize, you have to be organized. And I have operations, Anastasia, who's amazing. And she helps me organize my life. And then I have product development, who's Jilly, who's amazing. Then I have Sienna, who does socials. Like everybody kind of stays in their lane. And they come to me for like, Hales, I need approval on this, Hales. And I'm like juggling it at the table. Like I'll go up and do browse, and then I come back and I'm like, I got 4 minutes, so go. And then they tell me what they need and I go back up. So it's like, it is a little bit of a crazy day. My days are long. They're like 14-hour days because I'm working in my business and on it still. And I think it's always important to be present, like for me on the floor as well. And as I grow, like I'm going to hop around to stores. Like it's really, I think people like think they get so big and they don't have to do those kinds of things. And like, you got to always keep that in check, right? Because people notice that. It's really hard to stay organized, especially when you have meetings in between clients or like, you know, Thursdays, typically I like to have meeting days. So it's usually all meetings those days, but you got to have good help. And you got to have a good team. A team is like so important. And you have to have like good, honest people.
That's right.
That is hard to find sometimes.
How do you build the culture for your team? Because it seems like, based on me having actually been into your retail locations, but then seeing the way that you interact with your team online, it's very much, it seems like you guys are all like friends.
No, and like obviously there's a fine line. Because I've been burnt in the past, right? So like, because I'm just an empath, and like I love to love, and I love for everybody to be happy and go lucky, and everybody love their job. And sometimes like, you know, you get the odd one that it just doesn't work out. But because they don't align with you and your brand. But for the most part, like we get along great. Like you're seeing them more than your boyfriend. Right? Like you got to get along and have fun while you do it. Because like, again, we got one life. Let's have fun.
You know, one thing that I admire about you is your ability to notice when something feels off and to like follow your intuition. And if it doesn't feel right within, you make a change. And it takes courage to walk away from people, relationships, business partners, etc., that no longer serve you. This is like the Oprah part of the episode.
Here we go.
How do you keep yourself in the right headspace when you're having these feelings and you're making changes? And I noticed like you posted last year saying it was a really difficult year for you and you made a lot of changes, and like from you had anxiety and a lot of stress, like business and personal. You know, how do you navigate these changes? Because it's obviously it has to affect you and affect your business. And I'm sure people are listening that might be going through difficult times. And like, what advice do you have?
I guess my advice is like, you learn over time how to handle the stress, right? And, you know, life is always going to throw you, like, you're going to go left, you're going to go right, like, but you just got to stay on track. And I look back at like, you know, the last couple of years and I say to myself, like, those were all learning experiences, right? People come and go in your life for a reason. Season, reason, lifetime, as cliche as it sounds, it's so true. And you learn and then you level up and then you learn and you level up again. And like, that's the beauty about it, right? And not everybody's meant to be in your life forever, right? And it's okay.
I really like that. There's a level of like dependence on yourself and also detachment from what's happening around you, which I think is what's, in my opinion, like watching your business grow is like a secret to your success, where like you're focused on building what you need to build, and the people that are around you are like on this journey with you, or they, you know, are passing by.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just in life and in business.
Yeah.
And the more you scale and the more you grow, like everybody's either going to be with you or they're out because they can't handle it.
Yeah.
I always say, you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. Right now I have the most amazing boyfriend, not to give him a shout out, but he's amazing. Like he's super calm. And like I'm high strung. And what I've learned, especially in relationships, is that you need that balance. Yes. You can't be both high strung and high achievers. Like, not saying he's not a high achiever, he is, but you need a good balance. Yeah. And that's what makes the other part of your life really good, because then you can really focus at work and be your best, right? It's a hard balance. Yeah. It's a really hard balance. And for me too, everybody always asks, like, do you plan on having kids? Like, you're getting a little bit old. And I'm like, I'm 30 fucking 2. Can we dial it back?
Yeah. Everyone needs to relax.
And like, first of all, don't ask that question, because not everybody can have kids.
And it's rude.
So, you know, and like I said to myself, I'm like, I've always wanted kids a little bit later in life, like 38.
Yeah.
My mom had me at 38, my brother at 40. And like, if I want to freeze my eggs, I'll freeze my eggs. But back to the balance is like, I feel like you have kids, you have a successful business, an amazing, you know, fiance, boyfriend, husband, and you have to, one thing has to give, right? And right now I'm not willing to give up my amazing relationship or my amazing business. And you have to be able to, I can only focus on those two. I know what I can handle. So it's when you add way too much to the plate that something fails.
Yeah, there's always this fallacy.
Usually a marriage, or it's usually you don't spend enough time with your kids.
Yeah.
Right? And I want to be there for my kids.
Yeah. You can't have it all. And I think it's just this fallacy that women are supposed to have it all. And it's like, we don't want to have it all.
If you got help, great. It's still hard.
What is your money mindset, and how has your money mindset evolved throughout the years, from like when you were in your early 20s and starting your business to right now? And like money mindset in the sense of how you reinvest in your business, but also for yourself. Like, do you have an abundance mindset? What's your relationship with money?
So I guess it's really funny. This is the first year I've ever taken a salary. Out of 5 years. I've kept all of my money in the company. I took like 40, 30,000. That's it. Yeah. And, you know, okay, my company pays for my car, and then, you know, I can buy a few, but I have everything I need. Yeah. Right. And if you want it bad enough, you have to sacrifice. And if you can't sacrifice, it's not going to work. So, you know, now even like I'm a big saver even now. Like I'm trying not to buy a Starbucks. I'm like
doing
trying
the
to make
same,
my
girl.
healthy, you know, my salads, one to lose weight, and two to like, you know, save some money, because like I have everything I need. Yeah. And I just want to keep saving for like real life things. Yeah. So this year I told myself, I was like, no trips. I usually go on 4 or 5 trips a year. No trips. Like, you got an empire to build. You got these 3 stores, and I'm putting all of my own money into this. Right. So yeah, I have to be tight with it.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, like, cutting back on the coffees and this and that, because it's
like a treat like, once in a while. Yeah, it's great. It's great. But like at the same time, it's like once you get yourself in that routine, I think with like the first few years, I was like, so I was like Starbucks, like, because you're like running like a crazy person. Yeah. And like there's no time. And now I have a little bit more of a routine, and I have the right people in place. I'm not wearing as many hats. Like, I'm still wearing all the hats, but like I have help. So you can focus a little bit more on your, like your self-care, going to the gym, all of those things that, you know, make you feel good.
Your wellness, which is important. Do you do any meditating or yoga?
I do at nighttime. I've been really bad with working out the past 2 months because I've been like so stressed and like, you know, really working hard. So I'm trying to get back into that. But yeah, like self-care really helps me at nighttime unwind. And I do meditations. I also love listening to ocean waves. I'm such a loser.
No, that's awesome.
I my Sonos like throughout the night, and I'm like, I just want to feel like I'm on a beach. Yeah. So I actually love that. And yeah, I'm really trying to eat healthy. You know, it's hard.
Yeah. Health is wealth. Like, if you're not feeling healthy, how are you going to run your empire?
You can't. Yeah. That's something I've learned. I've been burnt out multiple times.
How did you bounce back from the burnout?
You know, it's usually your body telling you to like slow down. Yeah. Right? Like, I've had like numerous things like happen, and then it's like, oh, I'm actually in bed for a week because I can't actually physically get out of bed. And that's like, you know, your body telling you like, slow the fuck down.
Yeah.
I have a problem with that. Like I have to really work on that, like the burnout situation. Like I just I was working 45 days straight on the floor because I was like short staffed in December. But it's like, all right, I'm back on the floor. Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
You just get it done. So, but yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
You're so positive. Let's talk about this. Your attitude is really like in the short time that we've spent together, you're very much focused, like your eyes on the prize. You're very positive. If things need to happen, you like jump in there and get it done. Let's talk about the times where maybe you're not feeling so great that day and you're like, I can't give 110% today. How do you deal in those situations?
I still push myself.
Yeah.
I have to. Because like you can't get down and out about things. Like you just have to, like you can.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't. But for me, then I get like in a downward spiral in my head. So it's like, okay, like maybe you can only give 80% today. And then you're going to leave and like go for a massage.
Yeah.
And you're going to shut off your phone. And then what also really helps me, and I know this sounds so cliche as well, but I go home and like I have a hot shower and like rinse off the day.
Yes.
Put my skin butter on, lather it on, and go to bed.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow's a new day. So, I mean, I just try to be I guess I am just positive. I mean, there is times in my head I get very negative on myself. I definitely do. But I think that just comes with entrepreneurship and like always wanting more, right? So that can be like, it can play tricks. Like you can play tricks in your mind a little bit. But you just got to also be around positive people.
Yeah. And don't
do
sit
negative
in it.
Nancy.
Yeah.
Like, bye.
There you go.
It's like, and that, goes back to your atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
If you're around people that like are negative, like it rubs off, right? So you have to be around positive people.
It's true. That's why culture fit in a business is so important because if you bring someone who is negative, they will ruin the vibe. Yeah.
It's cancer in the workplace. And once I see it, it's gone. Like gone. I don't screw around that way. I'm very...
Let's talk about that.
No, I'm just very like, if I feel like something's not working with an employee, like they're gone. Yeah. Right? Because it affects the whole team. So you have to be very careful who you let in.
Yeah. You got to be on it. Really.
On it. Someone's always trying to rip you off, by the way.
That's great. How do you... Okay, we have a lot of listeners who are entrepreneurs or they're thinking of quitting their job and starting a business. And we'd love to talk about money on this podcast because I think more women need to discuss figures. So if we have women who are listening to the podcast and they have a 6-figure business and they're feeling a bit stuck and trying to move over to the 7-figure club, what advice do you have? And I know this is very general because someone could be a consultant, someone could have a brick and mortar, someone could have an online business, but is there like a template or something that you follow? So I guess for me, I just like, there's one thing about me that's really good. It's like I never run out of ideas, but I think that's the creative side of me, right? So you either have to hire like a business advisor, someone to like bounce ideas off with, right? And like that could also like reinvent the wheel a little bit for you and get you to grow. I see entrepreneurs who get stuck and they don't. I literally was just meeting with an entrepreneur earlier today. Yeah. And she was saying like, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do next or where to go next. And it's perfect advice. Like hire a business coach.
I guess, and go back to the drawing board, right? What's making me money? What isn't? What do I, like you got to trim the fat a little bit. Yeah. Right. And then, stay obviously true to your values and who you are within the business. And that might guide you to your next idea. Right. So yeah.
Just what's one piece of advice you wish someone would have given you when you first started?
I wish I would have got someone in finance at the start. Because I can wear all like the marketing hat, like I can wear all the other hats, but like having someone actually be able to save you money when it comes to taxes or budget, like what's good for your next like collection that you're coming out with. Like I think like that is super important. And like I would say also like really knowing your field, right? And having like a good handle on the foundation of your business, right? So
perfect advice.
Thank you.
Haley, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. This conversation was so fun and probably so funny for everyone who's listening. I love it.
Had a good time. What can I say?
Yeah, it was great. It was so nice having you on. For everyone who's listening, thank you for tuning in or for watching us. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It really helps us out. Hop over to she'sinteresting.com, sign up for our newsletter. We've got lots of goodies and giveaways there. And that's it, y'all. Have a great day.